With the Supreme Court slamming the door on special counsel Jack Smith's gamble, rejecting an urgent appeal, and quite possibly delaying the federal election interference case against Donald Trump. The High Court responding to Smith's request with a single sentence denying the special counsel's hope for this expedited ruling on Trump's claims of presidential immunity. And then tonight, the former president's legal woes are his GOP rivals' frustrations. Just listen to Ron DeSantis here.
I wish Trump hadn't been indicted on any of this stuff. It distorted the primary.
Because it's helped him? Is that what you're saying?
It's both that, but then it also has just crowded out, I think, so much other stuff, and it's sucked out a lot of oxygen.
Joining me now is former special assistant to President George W. Bush and CNN senior political commentator Scott Jennings. All right, Scott, how do you see this decision through a political lens here?
Well, if it does delay the March 4th trial date, I heard some disagreement on that earlier, but if it does, it certainly pushes it back closer to maybe when the Republican National Convention is going on, closer to Election Day, and then I think you get into questions of whether you can even have a trial at that point out of fairness to the election if Trump is the nominee. The fascination with March the 4th, of course, is that the next day is Super Tuesday, March the 5th, and so the specter of this happening, right before and during the most pivotal month for delegate collection in the Republican primary had a lot of folks talking. So just as a technical, functional matter, if this thing gets delayed and Trump doesn't have to deal with it while he's out finishing up the primary in March, that's probably a good thing for him.
Yeah, certainly. Maybe Judge Luttig is right, but he's certainly in the minority thinking that this isn't going to delay this federal election subversion trial. You hear Ron DeSantis there lamenting the oxygen that this is all sucked out of the room. Is he just, saying the obvious, or is he laying the groundwork for a potential loss?
Well, look at Ron DeSantis' lived experience. Go back to November of 2022. He steamrolls to re-election in Florida. People are unhappy with Trump. There's a thought that maybe he should just get into the presidential race and go ahead and take over the party. He was leading Trump in the national polls. He waited and waited and waited until the following May. And what happened in the intervening period? Donald Trump started getting in legal trouble and Republicans got mad and they rallied to Trump's side. By the time DeSantis got into this thing, Trump had already recoagulated himself and collected himself, and his campaign was well on its way. So I think if he does lose this race and he looks back on it, he'll look at that period and wonder what might have been. What if he had gotten into the race earlier? What if he had not given Trump all that space? And of course, what if these indictments hadn't come along to put the jet fuel into Trump's campaign?
Yeah, and look, certainly he can't control the indictments. There are so many people watching, I think, what's happening today. And, it's not just incremental because it speaks to this idea of a delay really potentially impacting the political landscape. Is this all going to play out before the election? You have critics of Trump's who really worry that if this is not decided before the election, he potentially wins, he goes into the White House. They've raised concerns that he is going to maybe have an attorney general who dismisses all of this. Maybe he would go ahead and pardon himself. That is certainly something you hear people talk about. What do you say to that?
Well, I think if he gets elected president, the federal cases go away. He'll just have the Justice Department drop the cases. Now, the state cases, I guess, are a different matter. But as far as the federal issues, yeah, if they're still going on, I think they would just cease to exist at that moment. I personally think the American people want to see this resolved before the election. I do still believe there's a cohort of voters, some Republicans, some independents out there who won't want to vote for a convicted felon. And they're watching to see what happens in these trials. And I also think, frankly, Donald Trump deserves a chance to clear his name. I mean, he's been accused of pretty serious stuff, not only in the Jack Smith case around January 6th, but also in the documents case. My view from the beginning of this is Donald Trump also deserves a chance to clear his name if he can in a court of law and not just fight this out in the court of public opinion. So I think he should clear his name. I think the prosecutor should have a chance to clear their case. But mostly, I just think the American people should know whether or not they're about to cast their ballot for a convicted felon or possibly for someone who just got acquitted of all these things they've heard that he was accused of.
Yeah. Have there ever been any more interested parties than this in the outcome of a legal case?